Hello everybody and welcome to the Language Genie. My name is Tim. I'm very excited to bring to you today video number 18, Verbs, Verbs, and More Verbs. I think anybody who's studying a language knows that verbs are really important. After all, that's where all the action is. Well, today I'm going to quickly review with you some core verbs that we discussed in previous videos, and I'm going to share with you my golden list of verbs that's going to expedite and accelerate your language learning so you don't have to spend hours and hours thinking about which verbs should I learn in my target language. So let's get started. As I mentioned in the beginning, we're going to be looking at verbs, and we're going to be looking at different lists of verbs, and we're going to be looking at how these verbs will be so helpful as you are developing your target language. In fact, we're going to be looking at so many verbs, you're going to think it's raining verbs. These verbs represent just a small sample of the verbs I went over in video number 14. But for those of you who haven't seen that video, I'm going to quickly review those. But if you want more information, please go back to video 14 to get a full version of what I discuss. These are the core set of verbs that I discussed in video number 14. I carefully selected these verbs based on my own personal experience to try to answer the question, what are those verbs that I need in order to learn a language well? Well, if you're trying to save time, these are very, very important verbs that will give you high versatility as well as high practicality. So that is the pro. They're high frequency and they're practical. And you can use them in many different situations, which makes them highly versatile. The con side would be you still need more verbs to effectively communicate on a wider and deeper level. And so I have a solution for you, and that solution is called the golden list of verbs. The golden list of verbs. So are you ready to see what the golden list is? Drum roll, please. And here we are. A list of verbs that represent so many different actions, that represent the day-to-day things that every human needs and does. And this is the golden list. On this page, you will see so many useful verbs that I guarantee you'll be using these a lot in your writing, in your speaking. You'll be hearing these words in conversations. So that's why I like to call it my golden list of verbs. So if you have these verbs in addition to the core verbs, you have about 69 verbs. It doesn't sound like a lot, but again, my philosophy is you don't need hundreds and hundreds of verbs if you can carefully select and master the ones that I recommend to you. One other piece of advice, master these verbs first and then move on to adding more verbs. Because as I mentioned before, just gathering verbs, accumulating them in your language toolbox does very little for your ability to use them. So it's more important that you use them in as many situations as you can. And once you feel very comfortable that they become second nature, as if you're talking in your native language, then you move on and add more to your vocabulary toolbox. So let's take a look at how many of these core high-frequency verbs you know in your target language. For example, do you know how to say, I want, or try, or show, or should, or improve? These are not typically the types of verbs that you see on a lot of language programs lists. Not only that, but you don't actually see these verbs until much, much later in their program. For me, I think it's important to get to them right away and master them sooner rather than later. In addition, I've given you an additional 42 other verbs from the golden list, and they include get, take, find, hear, read, make a mistake, come, put, listen, write, speak or talk, look like, study, work, live, explain, ask, eat, drink, love, finish, worry, play, move, remember, plan, teach, wear, change, open, close, leave, become, wait, decide, ask for, share, add, remove, lose, practice, and hurt. These are the carefully curated lists of words that I think you should focus on before moving on to too many other verbs. So in a similar aspect, you can see that with these verbs, the 69 verbs strong, your ability in your target language will accelerate and improve exponentially. As long as you are mastering these words, as long as you're using them as often as possible. So because French is a new language for me, the pronunciation of these verbs are going to be a challenge, but I will try my best. Vouloir, penser, aider, faire, donner, utiliser, avoir besoin de, aimer, avoir, pouvoir, apprendre, voir, aller à, dire, essayer. And then there are more verbs on the bottom. Obtenir, prendre, trouver, entendre, lire, faire un erreur, venir, mettre, écouter, écrire, parler, rassembler, étudier, travailler, habiter à, expliquer, demander, manger, boire, aimer, finir, etc. So I will continue working on my verbs if you continue working on your verbs. And in future lessons, we're going to actually start putting these words and other lists of words like the little guys and the conversation directors, which I haven't introduced to you yet. These will all be in play as you develop the mastery and apply them so that they become a natural part of your language toolbox. So as promised, I try to keep this as short as possible, and I know I still have to work on that. But for the most part, I hope that you got the main point of today's video. Verbs are where the action is, and so look at these verbs and master them. Don't memorize them. Mastery comes through use. Memorizing comes just from looking. So make sure that you master these verbs. So coming soon, I'm going to teach you a very simple and very effective way to organize all of these verbs that you have and track your verbs as you learn them. So you don't have to make a list. They're going to fit in a very organized and logical way that's going to help you keep track of these verbs so that way you don't get confused. And not only that, but these verbs actually substitute a lot of the other verbs that we'll introduce later on. I'll go into detail about that in future lessons. So for now, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you learned something. Please feel free to comment in the box below. Send me questions you have. Tell me what languages you're learning. Tell me what you'd like to see more on this channel. I'm very new to this, so I'm open to all types of feedback. So thank you so much for subscribing, liking, and following. And I will catch you around the next time on The Language Genie. Talk to you later. Take care.